Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to Yaakov Naklat out there, pursuing this truth diligently. I mention once again another lesson. Another one coming off of the frying pan that is Reddit, all right, from Popular. I came across this one and kind of sat on it for a little bit today. Didn't know if I was going to go do something else, but I started looking into this more, and I said, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a lesson on this. So it's this post here, and you can see it. It's really an unlearned statement all around in all this post because they don't understand, and we're gonna really get into it and talk about it today. Now it's a post from this lady that is named Savannah Hernandez. Okay, and at the top, as you can see up here, it says this is the title of the post. It says her ancestors are rolling in their graves. No, they're not, because they're not her ancestors, and we're going to prove that. Now, it says, she said, it's 6 a.m., and the first thing my Uber has said to me is, hola, no habla inglés. Mass deportations need to happen, and they need to happen now. Now, this person, just as unlearned as the person that made this post, said, and their name is South Tyrol CR, it says, your last name is Hernandez? And they don't understand it. She's not Mexican, okay? And she's not even Spanish. In a way she is. But we're going to go and touch on that. That's why you need to do your research, man. Get the receipts. Get the receipts, all right? People are constantly talking about stuff they have no idea about, all right? It says, girl, you're 123andMe result away from deporting yourself. And it says, funny how Ancestry works, huh? Talk about selective heritage. And people are just talking about, plot twist is number 2. She speaks Spanish too, considering her last name. She understood what he said and was able to write it out. She just wanted to look down on him. Now, she doesn't necessarily, we don't know if she necessarily speaks Spanish, okay? He said, considering her last name. Now, if you would have just done some research, you would find out that, right here, she's biracial. This person, Jonathan Cho, says, you can see this is a post from another post from Savannah Hernandez. All right, and you can see it. Good morning. It seems a tolerant, inclusive left saw my reporting from Kamala's rally last night, and she's a Trumpy. She's a Trump supporter. This Savannah Hernandez lady. Now he says, I just wanted to add that my friend and colleague Savannah Hernandez is biracial and a proud Filipino American. That is all. So she is Filipino and biracial. So I don't know what she's mixed with. Now, this person says and by American, do you mean white? She's half white, yet Filipino. And this person said down here, why would you assume she's half white? And he said, why would I assume she's not? So we don't necessarily know. What I did dig up and find out by typing in father was this Father's Day post that she posted back in 2024. It says, happy Father's Day to my incredible dad who taught me to work hard and never back down. I said, and happy Father's Day to all the strong dads who have created and cultivated strong families nationwide. And you see her father here seems to be, Filipino as well. Okay. Now down here, it says, someone said right here, I guess they know the name of the father. They said right here, happy Father's Day, Julio, Top J. All right. So I guess his name is Julio. So again, could be very well Filipino. Now, and you can go here and you can see the type of person she is. She's a Trumpy. This is what she looks like. We can go and look around on her page for a little bit. This is what she looks like.
Of 2025, this time we're heading to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration of President Donald J. Trump. Now, because it's me and it's always all work, no play, the first event I attended was the People's March, which was filled with the last few holdouts of the left wing. And when I tell you it was freezing, like, damn, y'all, Trump already won. Go inside.
All right, so she's in. Honestly, I do think that this lady, it's not even just about my thought. This lady is an Edomite, okay? Now, she has some valid points about, the left and the Mo agenda. All right, I don't want to say too much. Now, we don't agree with either side, but, we will say that, certain sides have better thoughts on certain things, and we understand the conservatives, all right, they're not with that Mo shit. All right, they're not with that Mo shit at all, except for the ones that are high up are. All right, they're popping each other and doing all that weird shit, like people like Trump and stuff. But the people that generally believe in conservatism are against the homosexual agenda. All right, so and that's correct. All right, but they're also wrong on a lot of things. They're also racist. They don't like black people or Negroes, Latinos, or Native Americans at all. Any of them. So, you can go through her posts and you can see different things, but you see who she is, you see how she talks, you see how she walks, and this lady is nothing more than a bona fide Edomite. All right, and because there's two different things you could be. All right, as a Filipino. All right, you have a chance of either being an Edomite. All right. Well, really, if you're a Filipino, you have a couple different things that you really could be, because if you're being called a Filipino, because there's a lot of people that have been in that land. But we'll touch on that. But the two primary things that you're going to be is either a Edomite, okay, which is, again, a heathen, all right, and the Lord's most detested people, and the people of whom he'll have indignation forever, and that will receive no mercy on his end. All right, the one and only people that will receive absolutely no form of mercy. All right, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and not every Edomite is white-looking either. All right, 99% of them are, but not all of them. Okay, for example, this lady's a prime example. I do think she is an Edomite. Or two, you can be a Moabite, which is going back, China and and some of those lands over there. Now I can go and look up world map. And I can bring it up here. I'll actually go and just get it on, Google Earth will probably be just fine. This is too much work. I'm not doing that. No. Okay, well, it's going to give it to us. Okay, good. So, you can see here, all right, world map. And if we go over... where is it? Here it is. Document. So if you go over here, this is the Philippines right here. Okay, and you can see right around the Philippines, you have Taiwan, and then, Vietnam, which is right off the coast of China. All right, so China, Taiwan, and then down here, and then through the city of Manila, which is going to be talked about a little bit today, I believe, right over here. Then you have the Philippines. So they're just right across the way from, like China and Vietnam, which those people are Moabites. All right, Moabites. Then, of course, as you go up over here, this is where you start getting in touch with Ammon. All right, Japan is, the Ammonites. All right, now the South Koreans, I believe, to be Ammonites as well. But I don't know. My theory, I haven't heard too much taught about it, about getting down into the exact places. But I don't know if I feel like North Koreans are a different people. I feel like they actually might be Moabites. But again, that's just a theory of mine. I'm not sure if that's how it's being taught. That's something I need to learn more on. But yeah, so but again, Jake kills each other too. So, but South Korea and North Korea have all this weird animosity. But yeah, getting down here, these people in the Philippines, they're right off the bat. So you can either be primarily, all right, if you really are a Filipino, all right, really true-heartedly, you're either an Edomite because of the Spanish colonization that happened there in the conquistadors, or the people that are from these other lands, being Moab. All right, that's how they get those Asian features anyway, because they're a mixed people. But getting into it, people they just automatically assume because of the name Hernandez. Now, how did these Filipinos, you see someone named, Paris Enriquez, and you'll be like, oh, they must be, Mexican. They must be this or that. No, well, not always. They could be either Spanish, all right, which is, again, not, you got to realize the Mexicans, the so-called Mexicans, are Israelites, all right? They're Issachar, all right? They go back to the biblical tribe of Issachar. Spain does not, all right? They go back to the Roman people, all right, which are Edomites, all right? That's how they have that language, first of all. Is that, Rome, that Latin, all right, that was changed into Spanish, that was changed into different forms of Spanish. There's different types of Spanish, all right, then the Spanish speak a different type of Spanish than the Mexicans speak, all right, and I think Brazilians speak, a little similar, all right, a little bit different, but it's more similar to how Mexicans speak Spanish. And then, of course, it's just like how, my wife was talking to me one night about it, and she explained it pretty well about what her in the way she says it's the way, we were talking about Spanish, she said it's the way that, the different types of Spanish is like the way that American English and British English is, All right, and that's a good explanation from her because I couldn't put it into words like that. Sometimes those things don't come to mind. And it's that's what women are for. That help you piece things together at the end of the day. They're really thought provokers. They can be thought provokers when they're being right at their job. If not in that, then they're just provokers without the thought in there. But yeah, man. So it's different. They're different people, and that's something you need to understand. You can't always just take things at face value. Okay, you got to understand things. You got to research, and just by a little bit of research, we found out she's not Mexican. All right, she's not Spanish. Well, in a way, she is, but she's really Filipino. All right, or Filipina. All right, as she would say. Yeah, and furthermore, looking into that, going, just by seeing how she acts, we can tell she's more than likely an Edomite, because you got to try their spirit, all right? Because you can't always look on outward appearance. Let's go and get that. There's a couple of them. Let me see. There's another scripture I wanted to get. That's the one though. This 1 Samuel 16:7 that I usually get. But there's another one. Let me see. I had it up here. Right here. Glad I still had it up when I was doing research for the lesson. Right here, John 7:24. Judge, now this is red letter, so this is Yahushua speaking. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. So another thing that you need to understand is that appearance. What is appearance? It doesn't always mean the way someone looks, and it really does, and it does, but it doesn't always mean that. But appearance, I spelt it wrong. Appearance. The way someone or something looks. So someone or something. So appearance is usually their appearance. It's talking about a person, but it can also be a thing. All right. And you judged off of appearance of the appearance of her last name. Apparently, dealing with that word appearance, apparently you thought she was Mexican or of some form because her last name was Hernandez, not knowing that Filipino people also have that last name. Now, I looked into this because I said, okay, her last name's Hernandez. That doesn't mean anything. There's many people. She could be anything. She could be Spanish, all right? She could have that last name. And Spanish people do not like Mexican people. It is well known. If you call a Spanish person Mexican, they will fucking snap. They will lose their shit. They do not like being called Mexican because they don't like Mexican, because Mexicans, so-called, are Issacharites, all right? Or Gadites. There's a lot of mixing over there. And those are Israelites, Jakes, all right? Israelites, the Lord's chosen people. They, over there, are Edomites, all right? Primarily. You have Arabs over there as well, but they are primarily Edomites, all right? We're Ishmaelites over there. Like I said, Arabs, Ishmael. You got a lot of Ishmael over there. But that's why they have that animosity. They are, again, most of them are Edomites. Esau, don't get it. Well, that's the Lord talking about it. Right here. Genesis 27:41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And he hates him. And you say, oh, well, no, that was back then. He changed. No, he never did. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. All right. All right, right here. Ezekiel 35:5. And you can see if you go up to verse 2, you see that's talking about Mount Seir. Who dwelled in Mount Seir, in the land of Mount Seir, in that area? And that was Edom. Edom's dwelling. Okay, Esau. Ezekiel 35:5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity and in the time that their iniquity had an end. Verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, that thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. There you go. And you can continue to read that if you want to see what the Lord really thinks about Esau. Well, if you want to know, you can just go right over here and get Romans 9:13. We can go back. Romans 9:13. What does the Lord think about Esau? Romans 9:13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. And there's no way you can try to wiggle your way to that. Esau is the Lord's most hated people because of what they have done towards his people. All right, his chosen people, the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? And it says right here, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. What does perpetual mean? This is something you need to realize when you're dealing with Esau, because they don't change. Perpetual, never ending or changing. So it never ended. They still hate to this day. These people are the same people, reborn now in that same lineage, are the same people coming back, and they still hate Jake. That's why black fatigue. The fatigue is real. These N-words this, these monkeys this, these beaners, wetbacks, and spicks, and these goddamn son of a bitches and motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. You know, why do they call us these names? It's because they've stayed like that forever. They're like that now. They were like that in the Jim Crow era. They were like that before that. They were like that in the slavery era. They were like that before that. And they were like that even back in biblical times. They've never changed. They've been the same devil that they've always been. And these heathens are the same way in a sense, because they hate us as well, but not as much as Esau hates us. Esau, there's a special hatred and animosity that Esau has for Israel that no other nation can really compare to, right? They don't like us. They hate us for multiple different reasons, but Esau hates us for the big primary reason because we got the blessing and they didn't. They feel like it was robbed from them when they gave it away because they're profane and they didn't want it. Okay, but now that's been a constant battling point that they have this hate towards us. So, and that's another reason why I think this lady is an Edomite, because you can just tell by just by their spirit. You know, the following after Nero, all right, Trump, right, and all this different, this Trump, 99 times out of 10, if someone's enamored and obsessed with Trump, a lot of the time they're Edomites, because they feel like Edomites feel like that they're really, Trump is like their savior to come and save their promised land, all right, of America, the big, glorious, fucked up promised land that they consider it to be. They think he's going to make America great again, which means what? What does that mean? What does make America great again? Removing all the brown. Okay, that's what I think it was, what was his name? He played, he was the guy that played, not Eisenhower, what was his name? God damn it. He played the dad on Malcolm in the Middle, and he played the lead guy in fucking Breaking Bad. Let me see. Was it Bryan Cranston? He looks different now. I think it is. Yeah, Bryan Cranston. That was him. And he basically said, the phrase "Make America Great Again" is inherently racist. We can play it, because when was America ever great for black people?
You got into a tussle recently with Bill Maher about critical race theory and wokeness. When you look at the political discourse in our country today and the role that media plays in it, what do you think?
It's difficult to try to find truly unbiased reporting, news that really is straight shooters. This conversation I had with Bill, we're talking about critical race theory, and I think it's imperative that it's taught, that we look at our history much the same, I think, that Germany has looked at their history in involvement in the wars, that the 1 and 2, and embrace it and say, this is where we went wrong. This is how it went wrong. When I see the Make America Great Again, my comment is, do you accept that could possibly be construed as a racist remark? And most people, a lot of people go, how could that be racist? Make America great again? I said, so just ask yourself from an African American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African American?
And this guy could be a Jake, honestly. This guy could be a Jake, Bryan Cranston. He's a great actor, all right? And you know, I don't know too much about him. You could probably look into his nationality and see. Let's see. And he was born to Joseph Cranston. All right, let's see. Let's see, Joseph Cranston. Ethnicity, which isn't always a dead giveaway. There you go. Look at that. Said he had an older brother, Edward Jr., a younger sister, Margaret, and an older half-sister named Kathleen from his father's first marriage. Cranston had Irish heritage and was named after his great-grandfather, Joseph Cranston. Here you go. See, the receipts add up. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a lot of the Irish people, the original Irish, just like the original Sicilian. Now, the people that are there now, that's debated because, you could be either or. All right, you could be an Edomite or you could be an Israelite because of the the Israelites that were in that land. You had a bunch of, Israel was all over. They made Torahs all over. All right, and when Israel's around places, they get down, and they were in Israel. So, they were in Ireland. Okay, so the original Irish, that's why there's so much prejudice. They said no Irish, no Irish, no Negroes, no dogs. Right? There it was. No Irish, no blacks, no dogs. All right, and they were let's see, what was that movie? Let's see. There was a video. There was a movie. Right here. Check this out. Irish. So you can see the word white, it says Irish immigrants. The term was applied to Irish immigrants and their descendants. Irish were also nicknamed Negroes turned inside out. White African Americans would be referred to as smoked Irish. There you go. And you can see Italians as well. Now the original, the Moors settled, and did the Moors settle in Ireland? I think they did. Let's see. They never necessarily invaded Ireland, but yeah, right here. They say African roots of Ireland, but it says Moorish Science Temple founder Drew Ali teaches that Ireland was once part of a Moorish empire, and that the Irish are a Moorish people. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. And the Moors were Israelites. All right, the Moors were Israelites. So it's the same thing that happened with Italy and Ireland. So that's something you need to realize. So this guy right here, again, not judging by appearance, because he looks like a white guy. Sure, cool, looks like a regular white guy. But he has Irish heritage, which means he has a decent chance of being an Israelite. So that's why you need to go and do your research, man. You need to go and do your research. Now, we're going to get into it more. Now, why is it that these Filipino people have these Spanish last names? Well, I'm going to absolutely butcher this. As a matter of fact, or Spanish. English. I want to hear it spoken. So, you can see right here. Let me move this over. How this started about how they got these Spanish last names was, of course, because of Spain and the colonization of the land. All right. And you can get right here, and you can hear what it's pronounced.
Catálogo alfabético de apellidos.
All All right, which means,
Alphabetical catalog of surnames.
all right, which is what? It says it's an alphabetical catalog of surnames. It says it's a book of surnames in the Philippines and other islands in the Spanish East Indies, published in the mid-19th century, that was in response to a Spanish colonial decree establishing the distribution of Spanish family names and local surnames among the colonial subjects that did not have a prior surname. The people in that land usually didn't, at that time, did not have surnames. All right, they just had names. They didn't have last names. It says it is the reason for Filipinos sharing some of the same surnames as many Spaniards and other Hispanic countries. That's all you need to know. That's why there's names like Hernandez and Enrique and Martinez and all these different things, right? Is because of this book. All right. Now, I want to see if I can find a PDF. Let me see. All right. You can see there's a bunch of different names. And I bet if you type in her following list, a lot of these names aren't even super Spanish like that. But a lot of these, well, there's those names, and then as we're gonna get into in the Manila Galleon, is it says refers to the Spanish trading ships that linked the Philippines, the Spanish East Indies to Mexico. So there was a lot of Mexican people that were coming in that land. So like I said we would talk about it later. I'll reiterate now. So if you're over there as a Filipino, you have a couple things that you could be. You could be a Moabite, all right, going into one of the people from those other lands. You could be an Edomite, either two ways. You could either be because that land, the Philippines, was under Roman rule at one point, so you could be an Edomite from that, or you could be from when the Spanish came over, and the Spanish were originally Romans. All right, that's where that name, the Spanish came from, is from Latin, and the Roman were Latin-speaking people. So either Edomites from going back to one of the routes, either through Spanish, which go back to the Romans anyway, or to the Roman rule that happened at one point, I believe. Might have to fact check that. Or you could be a Moabite, all right, because of the people in that land. Or three, you could very well be an Iskarite, because of the back and forth that happened with Mexico, all right. So there's a couple different things, because Mexico was under Spanish rule at one point, all right. You can see, Mexico, and you can see it, but you can when did right here, Mexican War of Independence. Right here, Mexican War of Independence was an armed conflict, 1810, 1821, political process resulting in Mexico's independence from the Spanish Empire. So, showing you, all right, that it was, there's a lot of history that you need to know. And going back, and you can learn Spanish, and the Spanish are Roman peoples, and that they're originally white people, and there's just a lot. There's just a lot. And that's something that you need to realize. You can't just go and say, oh, her ancestors were rolling. No, they're not. All right? Her ancestors are rolling in their graves thinking that you think that she's a fucking, a Spanish individual. All right? No, or she could be Spanish, going back to Edomites, but she's an Edomite. She's an Edomite. And you don't understand that. All right? And a lot of these people that are in the scene are Edomites. Like people like, what's her name? God damn it. What's her coon ass name? God damn it. Black lady. Black Republican lady. What's her name? Starts with a C, I think. What's her name? Candace Owens. Candace Owens. All right. She's a coon. All right. She's really not even a coon, because she's an Edomite. All right. And it doesn't matter, because her paternal, all right, that's from the father's side, was Robert Owens, a black American, all right, and that doesn't matter, because you can tell by the way she acts. I don't think she's just a regular coon. I don't think she's a self-hating black person. I think she's literally just an Edomite, all right, and that's why she acts that way. All right, and that's why she sticks up for white people so much. But that is a black woman trait at the end of the day as well. And people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's not really an Israelite. He's an Edomite. All right. So you can't just judge based off of appearance. Going back into John 7:24, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. All right. You gotta go look through the scriptures, find out how these people are. All right, the Edomites, the traits, they like to colonize and take lands by violence, and then you go and you look into that, and you hear about the Roman people, and then you learn about the Spanish, and then you see about the colonization, the conquistadors with the Spanish, and where they went. And then you start to understand things, but you can't just take everything at face value, man. All right, you can't just do that. So, and another thing, that's not, I don't know why I had that up necessarily, but 1 Samuel 16:7 is again talking about this appearance. It says, but the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. And this goes both ways. You know, you'll see somebody that looks like, again, like I showed you with this guy, that guy, I already forgot his name, that played in Breaking Bad. And, you know, you can't judge it and look at him and say, oh, he's an Edomite. Now, I didn't know what he was until I watched that, and until I heard exactly what he said. I said, okay, wait a minute, this guy actually might just be a Jake. You never know. All right, same thing when I did that video, that lady that did that cooter cunt song, all right, called Country or whatever, but it's spelled cunt, you know, like actually like a box. All right, and I said, just because she looks the way she looks, she might not be an Edomite. All right, she probably is just a Jake, because that song, despite its wickedness, it had sauce, it had seasoning to it. All right, it was a little bit of season in there, right? So that's something that you need to understand. You can't just judge, you know, off of a name or how they look or anything like that. You have to go into it. Now, this lady, going back into it, already proved that no, she was not what you think she is. All right, a Filipino can hate a Mexican person. Why? They're different people. They're different people. But you saw Hernandez and roll with it. All right, you went with it. All right, and you know you can. There's many different scriptures we can get. First of all, let's get this. Be not ignorant. This is really referred to when there's something going on in the world, but Ecclesiastes 5:15, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small. This right here tells you right off the bat to be not ignorant, all right, of anything, all right? Of course, we usually use this when it's talking about, you know, these little weird stations that they're setting up and different things. You know, that they're going to be bigger in play once, you know, the RFID chip becomes mandatory and all that stuff, and when they start doing implant stations, if I could speak right, you know, be not ignorant of those things. But the scripture in its core tells us to not be ignorant. All right, another scripture. All right, this is Matthew 10:16. It says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Again, now this is talking about being mindful and being circumspect and being cautious, because we're around wolves. Be mindful and, you know, to be, you know, wise and not be, you know, harmful to people. Because, of course, you know, in the situation, they're already going to play us out to be animalistic people, which they already do. You say, well, they're like animals. They're animals. You know, lock them up. They're animals, right? So we got to make sure that we're being wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And another scripture that talks about that, and really more into play in that, especially as us in this truth, is abstain from all appearances of evil. We don't want to be in this ministry and then have appearances of evil, and then, you know, that the ministry be not blamed, as the scriptures say. So you don't want it to be like that. So an overwhelming topic within the Bible is us being wise. Being wise. And bear with me, I gotta sneeze, bear with me. Ooh, slack it. Alright. I went ahead and just paused the video to you wouldn't have to deal with that loud ass sneeze. But yeah, you know, it's an overwhelming thought process within the Bible of be smart, don't be stupid. All right, study. All right, there's another script right there. Study to show thyself approved. All right, use wisdom, be wise. All right, wise as serpents, as harmless as doves. And these people of the world don't do that. All right, and you can go and read through this if you want, but if you look where the Spaniards came from, there's basically, they're a mix of people. The Romans, the Visigoths, they say the Moors, and the Moors were in that land, so some of those people over there could be Israelites as well. Again, we're all over the place. Israel, we're as the Israel is as the sand. Isaiah 10:22. All right, Isaiah 10:22. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. So Israel is as the sand of the sea, which is very, very numerous. There's a lot of us out there. There's more Israel than any other nation, actually, if you can believe that, which it's true. If you don't believe it, doesn't matter. But yeah, man, you can see Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Romans, Visigoths, Germanics, Moors, Iberians, and Celts. And then you go back to Iberians, which the Iberian people, if you look into it, they'll say that they're Japhetic people, which is not really true. I mean, it depends because Japhet is Polynesian people, but it's really it's if you go back to the kingdom of Iberia, really, it's in that land of where the Iberians came from. It really is in that land that is now known as Caucasus. All right, you can see that it's let's see. People of Caucasian Iberia. There's a bunch to it. It's a lot. It is really a lot. But Caucasian mountaineers. But yeah, and that's the Caucasian basically. However, in the Peace of Nisibis, 298, while the Roman Empire obtained control of the Caucasian Iberia again as a vassal state and acknowledged the reign over all the Caucasus area. Again, Caucasus being that's an area where Caucasus Mountains where the Edomites eventually migrated and were living. So that's where that term Caucasian came from. They found, skulls of Edomite people there. They knew the Edomite people to be dwelling within that region. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to it. But that's why you got to do your homework, man. You got to do your homework. Just a little bit of a shorter lesson today. What is it, like 36 minutes? But yeah, man, you got to be wise. You got to be smart. Here, let's just type in KJV scriptures about being wise. Okay. Let's see. Right here. This is where we'll close out with. This is a good one. Proverbs 18:15. The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. So that's what you should do in this truth. You should be seeking knowledge and understanding and figuring things out. Because these people in the world, they don't. They see the last name Hernandez, ran with it, said, oh, she's got to be Mexican and she hates her people. Well, no, she's not Mexican at all. So this person that got in the car and said, oh, hola, no habla inglés, probably was Mexican. All right. And that's why she had this animosity, is because she's not that people. She's not an Israelite. She's not them. They're different. And you didn't understand that because you didn't go and do your research. You didn't look into it. You don't understand. And that's the people of the world. They're unintelligent individuals that don't do their research. They don't get their receipts. And that's how we end up with the society as dumb as it is. And that's it. That's the lesson. I don't have a title for it or anything like that yet. Lord willing, it'll come to me. But that's it. We're going to close out there. All right? So, Lord willing, the lesson was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. I want to say shalom to your brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith, keep studying, keep looking for knowledge, man. All right? And, search for wisdom. Until next one, Lord willing, shalom.